Does it really make sense to rent a furnished apartment? Well, it depends on the type of person that you are and what your rental expectations are. There are definite pros and cons to both sides, so let's just jump right in. The first thing that you need to look at when looking at a furnished apartment is how furnished is it really? There are some places that are partially furnished. Now, this could be anywhere from one room to just a few random pieces of furniture. You're going to see a lot of this when you're looking at individual landlords or private landlords on places like Kijiji, where it's just a few random pieces of furniture that they previously had in that place. You'll also see it when they're renting out their old condos, or if their kids stayed at a condo. Then there's also the necessities. It will just be the basics: bed, dresser, coffee table, sofa, so forth. You're not going to be looking at a lot of furniture, but this could be a pro for you because you might want to bring in your own. Now, there's also fully furnished, which you would think would be absolutely everything. But it's not always the case. This doesn't mean that you have everything that you need to live, and you still might have to buy some pieces of furniture, or at the very least, pieces of cookware, silverware, dishes, things like that. And then there is fully furnished. This means that everything is there. Everything to the silverware, to the plates, to the pots and pans. Every single piece of furniture, the entire place is designed. This is also an option. Now, granted, if this is what you want, just move in ready, rock up with a suitcase, this could be for you. However, apartments like this are the bane of my existence. I will explain why in a different video, but for now, just know that I personally dislike them. But let's just dive right into the furnished apartment pros. Furnished apartments can be great for first-time renters that are new to the city or even new to the country. The reason for this is furnishing an apartment can get expensive very quickly. I spent over $1,500 to furnish my first apartment, which was a small one-bedroom, and my now wife actually furnished half of the bedroom, so I was only furnishing a living room, a kitchen, a bathroom, and half of a bedroom. And it still costs over $1,500. But on the flip side, you will be paying a comparatively higher price if you're renting a furnished unit. So you need to see if it's worth it, or if it makes sense to you. One of the things that you can do is take the price that you would have to pay to furnish the unit to make it livable from you. Now, this could be anything from a lawn chair and a toaster to a professionally designed masterpiece. That all depends. Take that number. I'll give you a moment. The next thing that you're going to do is you're going to find the monthly difference between this unit and comparable unit. In condo buildings, that's going to be a lot easier. You can compare unit to unit, furnished to unfurnished very easily, but otherwise you might have to do a little bit more searching, especially to find units that are very similar, but you'll be able to find it. Then what you're going to do is divide the price to furnish by the monthly difference, and this will give you the maximum number of months where it'll be cheaper for you to rent a furnished apartment than it would be to buy your own furniture. So let's say it would cost you $2,000 to buy the furnishings, but it was only $100 more a month to rent the furnished apartments. Well, you could live in that apartment for 20 months before it became more expensive to rent the furnished unit than to buy the furnishings. If you plan on living there for 3+ years, then it makes more sense to buy the furnishings. But if you're just going to be there for a year, it actually makes more sense to just rent the furnished apartment. Now, if you find that it would actually be cheaper for you to buy the furnishings, don't despair, because this can be used as a negotiating tactic. Sometimes. It really depends if the landlord's willing to play ball on this one, and sometimes they just aren't. See if you can get a rent reduction if they're willing to remove some or all of the furniture. Now, you might not always need the rent reduction. There might be other concessions that you're willing to make. Like, let's say you want a later move-in date, or you want an earlier move-in date, or you want the first month's rent free. These are all things that you can negotiate in there. Remember, everything is negotiable in real estate. There are limits to this, but you won't know if you don't ask. And you might actually end up paying below market rate if you're able to get them to drop the rent low enough, or if you negotiate shrewdly enough. But also keep in mind that the landlord might not be accommodating to remove some of the furniture, so you might actually have to sell or downsize some of your own furniture. The second reason why furnished apartments make sense for people who are new to a city or people who move around a bunch is that moving costs can be insane. It's anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to move furniture. Now, this is also to buy a few small pieces to fill in the gaps that your previous place left, but that's a lot more money than just catching an Uber with 2 suitcases full of clothes. So keep that in mind. That does still need to be accounted for when you're doing these calculations. So who does a furnished apartment actually work for? Well, short-term renters are going to be the main people renting. It makes much more sense if you're renting between 6 to 12 months in a furnished apartment. But if you're setting yourself up to plant your roots and grow a family in this place, it does not make sense to rent a furnished apartment. Get an empty apartment, buy the furnishings. It will make more financial sense. The other person is going to be someone who's frequently on the move. Maybe your job demands you to move every year or every other year. You're someone who likes to be able to just pick up and go. You want to be able to be spontaneous. Then a furnished apartment is going to be the right thing for you. And the third type of person is going to be a student. Maybe they can't afford the upfront cost of the furnishings, but they can afford to pay it off over a number of years by paying for the furnished apartment. In this case, maybe consider financing the furniture if it makes sense, if the rates are low enough, and if you know that you can pay it off. This isn't always the best option, but it can be for someone whose choices are renting an overly expensive furnished apartment or financing the furniture. These are all very likely possibilities, and if this is you and you don't mind being around people like this, well, then a furnished apartment might be perfect for you. However, there are still cons that we do need to talk about. The high turnover rate is something that can impact a lot of people within the unit and within the building. But why does this matter? Well, the unit can be run down just by the number of tenants that have been through the apartment. Now, this is not always the case, but with people living in another person's space, they tend to respect it a lot less than they would a space that they deemed their own, with their own furniture in it. Now, obviously, there's two sides to the spectrum. Other people are overly cautious that they don't want to damage the furniture or the unit, but some people just won't care. They'll spill on the sofas, tear up the floors, and with more people coming through it, then you're just raising the likelihood of a problem tenant being in the unit at some point in time. You'll also note the wear on the furniture, especially if it's been a while since it's been updated, or if you're one of the tenants who are using it later on in the unit's life. These are all things you need to be aware of, and I hope this helps you make your decision on whether to get a furnished or unfurnished apartment. If it did help, leave a huge thumbs up down below. Make sure you subscribe and ring the notification bell so you can stay up to date on all of my videos. And let me know down in the comments. Think you'll be sticking with a furnished unit or an unfurnished unit? Let me know. Thanks.